bring in Anusha Roy, because Anusha, you have covered human trafficking in Colorado for years now, and the experts say that incidents like this imaginary one at the mall are simply not how it happens.
Yeah, and to be crystal clear about it, kidnapping is not really the MO of a human trafficker. And what they were saying is that a lot of times they're targeting vulnerable kids, you know, like kids who have run away. And at this moment right now, what investigators are particularly worried about is that traffickers are reaching their victims online. They're grooming them. They're forming this relationship to even gain their trust before they're even meeting their victims. And as this problem is continuing to morph, it's getting harder to investigate.
Backpage was notorious for its thinly veiled ads for prostitution. When the Fed shut it down last year, investigators celebrated.
It certainly was a good thing around Backpage, but in the short term, there was also some negatives.
Now, instead of one popular spot traffickers used and investigators closely watched, Christian Gardner-Wood with the Boulder District Attorney's Office said traffickers dispersed online and started using several platforms to target victims.
We certainly have seen that more recently, that social media is becoming a place for traffickers to go.
Social media and dating sites are all places where traffickers can check photos and read up on a person.
Just make sure we don't have any cars visible in that area.
This is something the FBI saw in the metro area as recently as this summer.
Operations that we do also include social media operations. And typically what we see is underage minor boys.
In July, the FBI reported with the help of local law enforcement, they rescued 4 kids and 8 adults and arrested 1 sex trafficker. But when it comes to holding an online platform criminally responsible, it's almost impossible.
There's not really a route for that. Colorado law is based around holding an individual accountable for their actions.
Also, a lot of these social media platforms weren't created to commit crimes and may not always be aware that some of their users are doing just that. So with this new landscape on human trafficking, law enforcement in Colorado had to regroup.
Us as law enforcement to find other investigative avenues to identify our vulnerable victims.
So the one way that a business could get in trouble is through a consumer protection. Essentially, if a company does find out that someone is using their online platform for trafficking and then allows it to continue, that is when they can get in trouble. So of course, with this story comes a familiar line, right, of paying attention to what your kids are doing online and of course checking those privacy settings as well.
We want parents to be vigilant everywhere, but
Yes.
you just hope that people aren't terrified to go into public spaces because of imaginary kid snatchers and then get Johnny home and just let him go up to his room and do whatever online.
No, exactly. And these kind of viral posts, they've happened before and they have been disproven before. And so the real area where investigators would ask people to pay attention to is what their kids are doing online.
All right. Thank you, Nusha.